So I think I was around 11 or 12 when I first got into anime and manga. And the first series I started reading was Fruits Basket. But the first series that I actually finished was a little 4-volume series in Matsuri Hino's take on magical boys. I remember reading that first volume over and over and over again. I was just so enthralled with the story. It was one of the books that made me fall in love with this medium. So what better way to kick off this channel than with one of the stories that helped start it all. I'm Luna, and this is MeruPuri. MeruPuri, also known as Merchant Prince, which means fairy tale prince, is about a first-year high school student named Airi Hoshina. And all she wants out of life is to get married at 20, become a housewife, and have a perfect little family. And we find out that her parents actually live overseas and her grandparents keep different schedules, so she essentially lives alone. Which makes a lot of sense why she's so obsessed with having her own family. So then along comes our main love interest, Aram. And Aram is a young prince from the magical kingdom of Astal. And he has transported himself to our world through Airi's heirloom mirror. And after a rocky start, they actually become sort of friends. And Airi's house becomes sort of a lifeline for him when he needs to escape Astal. And as we see the two get closer, we start to meet other characters from Astal. But unfortunately, we don't really get to explore these characters very much outside of their interactions between the main two. Now, I know it's about those two characters, but it's kind of a shame because some of the most interesting parts of the story are the little snippets we get of the B story. Now, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy the main story, but I just found myself wanting to know more about the supporting cast. Before I go any further, I need to warn you, I am about to talk about the ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but there are some bits that I think need to be talked about. So, if you want to go into the ending blind, I suggest you skip now. The ending itself is not bad. It's predictable. I mean, the story never really makes you wonder who Airi will end up with. And I don't really mind that. It's how it leads up to that ending that gets a little rough. See, the story seemed to have 2 time skips. One 2 years later, and one 3 years later after that. And neither really seemed to be clearly marked, so I was left confused at what time period we were at. Also, the time that was skipped seemed like it would have been really interesting to read. Airi had learned magic, 2 of the side characters got together and had kids. I don't know, it just felt really rushed, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I did when I was first reading it. Now, before I get into my overall thoughts, I want to talk about the art for a second. I don't know if it's just my nostalgia goggles blinding me, but I think the art was one of the best things about this series. I mean, look at this. Wispy, flowing hair, gorgeous eyes, and fancy boys in frilly clothes. I mean, I think Matsuri really got the magical, ethereal vibe just right. So now time for my overall thoughts. This manga is always going to hold a special place in my heart, no matter what complaints I have about it. Now yes, the ending was rushed, and some of the characters deserve some more attention, but there is still some good things about it. I mean, it's a cute story, with an interesting and, dare I say, original premise. Is this a literary masterpiece? No. But that's not really what it's supposed to be. It's meant to be a sweet little story that doubles as an excuse to put cute boys in frilly clothes. Do I recommend this series? Well, that depends on who you are. I think this series is best for people who like stories about magic and that sort of aesthetic, because I think that's where this story really excels. I also recommend this for people who are looking for short, simple stories to pass time or expand their manga list. I don't recommend it for people who are looking for something with substance and world building and details, because it doesn't really have a lot of that. So yeah, don't read it if you're into that. Well, those are all my thoughts, but if you've read this story, please let me know your opinions in the comments. And also, leave any suggestions for manga that you'd like me to review. And that's all for this edition of the Shoujo Manga Book Club. Bye!